Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And hello again, everybody. Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now with tonight's Keeneland Look Ahead as we preview day 16 of 17, the Friday card for October 27th. 10-race program for a multiple stakes card on Friday. We've got the featured Valley View in race number 8, and then the co-featured Myrtlewood Stakes, one on turf, one on dirt, in races 8 and 9 for Friday. We'll talk about what happened on the track today at Keeneland, where it was pick 6 carryover mania, a double pick 6 carryover. We'll explain what happened on the track today and also look ahead to the big card tomorrow. Weather is a concern for Friday. Overnight rain supposed to hit Lexington 11, midnight, 1 a.m. in that range coming up from the south as I looked at the weather maps before we started here. So going to get some overnight rain in Lexington, 50% chance of rain tomorrow. So let's see how much we have because 4 turf races are scheduled for the Friday card. So we want to try to get these turf races in, races 3, 6, 8, and 10. Be sure to check updated scratches and changes on Friday morning. Also be sure to check out at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Scott and Caton will co-host the Today at Keeneland program and give you the updated information from right there on the track. Your first look at Keeneland tomorrow. So it should be a little wet and soggy in the morning for workouts. Let's see what we get by the time race day and post time rolls around at 1 o'clock Eastern. Today at the track, again, the pick 6 carryover was over $300,000, about $300,000, I think, coming into the Saturday card. $273, I believe it was last night. So what we had today was $1.1 million in new money bet into the pick 6. They sent it in today at Old Keeneland, and $15,000 was the payoff for the $1 pick 6. It was a fairly chalky sequence. A little bit of a price in the nightcap. Shug McGahee won the finale for the second day in a row on the turf. Not a lot of big prices. Some favorites popped in there as expected on the pick 6 sequence. So $15,000 though, nothing to sneeze at. Congrats if you had it. Not a life-changing score, but certainly a nice down payment on something that makes your life nicer. 15 grand, a great payoff there. Pick 6 today hit at Keeneland. Favorites won 4 of 9 on the card. That's part of why we had a pick 6, even with the big carryover that didn't pay that boxcar kind of price. Brad Cox, we said coming into the program today, had a chance to almost put away the trainer's title. He was 1 up coming into the week. He got 1 win on Wednesday's card, 3 today. Brad Cox has pretty much put everything on ice. He's going to coast in as the leading trainer of the fall meet here. He just looked like he had too much volume for all the other barns coming into closing week with what he already had in the entry box. Of course, remember, we entered a week ahead. So you knew everything that was lined up going into closing week, and the entries already being set. Brad Cox just had the math and the numbers, and his horses ran to it today with 3 victories. So Brad Cox with 4 wins already during closing week. Speaking of 4 wins, it was a 4-win day today in the saddle for Tyler Gaffalione as he wrested the lead away from Luis Saez atop the jockey standings. So Gaffalione trying to make the push here. It's going to go down to those two, obviously, Friday and Saturday, both riding a lot of mounts. But a big day today for Tyler Gaffalione. Again, we talk about this Friday card as we look forward. Races 3, 6, 8, and 10 scheduled for the turf. And man, did the horsemen send it in at the entry box in these turf races. All 4 turf races scheduled for Friday have 16 entrants. Of course, 12 is the capacity here on a regular race day at Keeneland on the grass. So there'll be 4 also eligibles, but even the also eligible lists are stuffed in all 4 of those. So let's just cross our fingers here and get these babies on the turf on Friday so we have a great day of racing. A couple things working in our favor that even if things are a little bit on the soggy side is all 4 of the turf races are turf routes. So as we talked about in previous episodes here, turf sprints really tear the course up a lot more because the horses are 10, 12 wide going down the backstretch the whole way. In turf routes, they start to formulate into, 3 by 3 by 3 by the whole way around the track, and you don't tear up nearly as much of the course in the turf routes. So fingers crossed, those 4 turf routes on Friday help us get the turf races in. Then the other key factor is closing day is Saturday, right? So we're not trying to protect the course for the next several days. Saturday does include the Bryan Station, a stakes race on the turf. I'm sure they wouldn't want to rip the course up and not be able to run that, but it's not just a deal breaker as far as like, oh, we've got the Bryan Station, we positively can't run on the turf. So look, let's just see what happens. We're going to handicap like we're staying on the turf. If something kind of stands out though, and we want to make a comment, I'll drop some comments here and there about a horse maybe on the dirt in these particular turf races, or maybe one of the turf picks that we have that we wouldn't want to touch if the race were to come off the turf onto the dirt. Last time we had an off turf day here at Keeneland, we had 7 winners, I think 6 winners in 7 races of the original main track races. So just because we come off turf doesn't mean we can't have a good day, right? So let's get into this program on Friday. Valley View race number 8, Myrtlewood race number 9. Here's the big picture of how this 10 race card lines up with the multi-race wagers. Pick 5 starts in race number 1. The early pick 4 will start in the second. Pick 6 starts anew, no carryover. Tomorrow we'll have a mandatory payout in all pools, though. Pick 6 starts in race number 5. I should say Saturday. I'm doing this the day ahead. There'll be a mandatory payout on Saturday, closing day of all the pools. So again, pick 6 starts anew on Friday in race number 5. The late pick 5 starts in race number 6. That's also the first leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. And again, remember, if these races come off the turf, we can still run the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 as we did on off-turf days previous in the meet. Late pick 4 starts in race number 7. Our 2 stakes races, the Valley View, the feature in race number 8 is a Keeneland Turf Pick 3 race. And then the stakes race, the Myrtlewood on the main track for the 2-year-old filly sprinters. And that will be on the dirt. And race number 10 wraps things up with the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. I've got 3 key plays on the card. There were a lot of different options for key plays on this program because I've got some long shots throughout the course of the day. We'll see if we can't connect on one of them. Maybe 2 would be an amazing day. But we definitely have some price horses throughout this card. But I want to kind of give a sense of likely winners at good, solid, honest prices, as well as take a few shots. So we're not just throwing 3 up against the board and hope they stick here. Our key plays today, races 3, 5, and 6. We'll explain all those as we roll on through the card. Let's go now to the Keeneland Handicapper Selectors box. You can download this or print it out at Keeneland.com. Get the picks of our simulcast handicappers, Scott Hazelton and Caton Bradar, the voice of the Cats, Tom Leach, and Kim Nelson, our pedigree expert in the Selectors box. Race number 1 starts things off in maiden special weight company here. These are older maiden specials, not the 2-year-olds that we see so often here in the maiden special ranks, but the 3-year-olds and up. I'm on the 4 in here, Homestead, 8-5 in the morning line, not expecting a big price here. This one runs back second time at the meet, and we see run backs here the final week of the meet. We've already had 1 or 2 win at the session here at Keeneland. As you get this far late into the meet, horses running back second time at the stand can have some success. A lot of times that happens in the maiden ranks here, like we have in this maiden special weight race. Homestead, the reason this horse is the morning line favorite, a second place finish last time out, going 7/8 of a mile here back on October the 8th. I think that was Sunday of opening weekend. Tunisian Springs won that race wire to wire, was a 4-5 shot. There was 8 lengths back to the third place horse. So Homestead did all the dirty work, chasing a heavy favorite and didn't buckle. That is a very admirable thing to do in a performance line, to see that from a horse. Usually if you chase a big favorite, you're out of there and you're backing up in the stretch and you've kind of, spent yourself in pursuit doing the dirty work, as I like to say. That didn't happen with Homestead. So now they make the rider change for Farron Peterson to Luis Saez. I mean, just a tremendous upgrade in rider. No offense to Peterson, but Saez, multiple-time leading jockey here at Keeneland. This is a very aggressive move by Lance Rutledge Barn. It's 1 for 10 on the year, right? This isn't a big barn, and you're able to go get Luis Saez. Agent Kira McLaughlin wants to ride this one back. And a bullet workout since the race. This horse not only ran opening weekend, but then had a bullet workout since. So Homestead at 8-5, I probably spent way too much time describing why I like an 8-5 shot, but that's who I'm taking in race number 1. Hollywood Ending, top choice in here for 3 of the handicappers. This is the first-time starter for Brad Cox. Scott, Tom, and Caton all have Hollywood Ending on top. Curlin's had a good meet. He always has good meets, it seems like, here on the main track. Brad Cox has a couple first-time starter winners here at the session. Unleashed a nice first-time starter winning today amongst his 3 victories. Flavian Pratt rides. Nothing against Hollywood Ending. The one thing the stats and trends tell me, though, in these older maiden special weight races, we tend to want horses with experience. In the 2-year-old ranks, the first-time starters hold their own, if not excel against experienced horses in the 2-year-old races here at Keeneland in the fall. With the older horses like this, 3-year-olds and up, it's the other way around. The experienced horses have a pretty heavy hand statistically over the horses who are first-time starters. That's why I've got Homestead on top and Shortstop picked second. This is the horse coming off a second-place finish at Churchill, and that was a good effort there. So I took the 2 experienced horses. You're playing a pick 3 or a pick 5 to start things off, or a pick 3. Any multi-race wager, I don't have any argument if you're going to take number 3 Hollywood ending in here, but I'll go with the 4, 2, and 3. Go with the 2 experienced horses. Not a big play for me in this race when I like a horse on top at 8-5, but intra-race, it's not going to be much of a play for me because it's just a 7-horse field. So if I got an 8-5 shot on top, there's 2 logicals that could run second. It's not going to pay much in the exacta. Let the math work for you here, because race number 2's got a chance, I think, with a little bigger field size with 10 horses, that the daily double will be more lucrative than the exactas. The exactas in the opening race, you just have 7 entries, so 7 times 6, there's only 42 combinations. Any exacta can come in race number 1. The fact that when you look at the daily double, 7 by 10 in the second, there are 70 ways the daily double can come in. So 70 combinations versus 42. Let the math work for you. The losing tickets will pay for the winners. That's the way the pari-mutuel game works. So if you like a horse at a shorter price in race number 1, look to the daily double instead of playing the exacta with the intra-race plays. And in race number 2, I've got a long shot play in here, and second race is going to kick off the early pick 4. I didn't put this amongst my key plays of the day because this is a little bit of a stab in here, but I think this horse has got a decent shot in triple option. Triple option is going to be my top pick here in race number 2, and I'm on the island. Nobody else has triple option in their top 2. Caton's got triple option picked third here. This is 20-1 in the morning line, coming off a poor finish last time out at Churchill for 30,000. Was in the race though and chucked in the towel after pressing a very fast pace. 21-4, 45-2 for this level of maiden claimer 20. That's an exceptionally fast race. So I don't really care how far that horse got beaten when it was all said and done. Third place finisher Bourbon Fever's already come back to win here at the meet. And the one thing about triple option last time, and this is why, look, when you're picking a horse who's 20-1 in the line, you've got to be a forgiving handicapper. That's how you get long shots. If you don't have to forgive the effort, everybody else can see a good effort, right? And those horses get bet. Forgiving handicapper can look at triple option and say, pace was too fast for the level, chucked in the towel last time. And also the running lines, and if you watch the replay, this horse is running between horses the whole time. That's a tough position for horses to be in. They take pressure the entire way. A lot of times they'd rather be on the inside, hugging the fence, or obviously pressing to the outside in a perfect position. But those horses stuck in between often are just kind of ground up in a race and don't finish through the stretch. Triple option was that way last time. I like the fact that this Shackelford 4-year-old gets to the outside now, post 9. So can stay to the outside, has good speed, showed last time. So I'm going with triple option in a race that's difficult because not only do I have my top 3 in here, but I've got usable next to 3 other horses in there, meaning that they could be usable in the pick 4 or pick 5. And again, pick 4, pick 5 starts here. The pick 4 starts in race number 2. Pick 5 rolls on. So 9-1-4, my top 3 in here. Micro Beastie, the 1, should show some rail speed in here. Comes out of that same race as the horse in race number 1 did, Homestead. So let's see what Homestead does in race number 1, and that'll give us a little barometer on Micro Beastie in this race. They come out of the same race, and while Homestead in the opener didn't back up last time and showed good fortitude through the lane, Micro Beastie completely threw in the towel and now comes back on a big class drop. So Wayne Catalano's kind of lost a little confidence after being destroyed in Maiden Special Weight Company. They take the big drop. If Homestead runs big in race number 1 against Maiden Specials, you're going to like Micro Beastie even a little bit more than in race number 2, especially on the class drop. Not a direct comparison, but certainly you can kind of run those running lines through one another. 9-1-4, the way I have it. Micro Beastie, top choice for Tom. Bayou Spirit, the 4, top pick for Scott. And then Run and Score. Run and Score, the 3, is one of those 3 that I've got marked as usable underneath. Top pick in here for the ladies, Caton and Kim. So 5 handicappers, 4 different horses picked on, or 4 different horses picked on top. Again, I've got 9-1-4. I also have 3, 7, and 8 as horses that I think you can use. This is what we call a spread race in the multi-race wagers for sure, to get things started. So if you're going to go 2 or 3 deep in the opener, and then you're going to go 5 or 6 deep in race number 2, you can see that this early pick 5 could start to get pretty expensive for you unless you can start limiting things down in the subsequent races. Maybe we can do that in race number 3 because that's one of our key plays of the day here early in the card. Now, this is a turf race, race number 3, a mile and a 16th on the grass for 2-year-olds in maiden special weight company. And one of the reasons I like number 5 in here, Saltwater Taffy, is because this horse has a strong maiden company line. By company line, we mean who have you run against? What company have you kept? And if you look at the race at Kentucky Downs on August 31st that Saltwater Taffy comes out of, the winner of that race was Buttercream Babe. She's come back and run big in 2 stakes races since then. She ran 3rd in the Untappable Stakes at Kentucky Downs, followed that up going west to Santa Anita and running 2nd in the Surfer Girl Stakes. That was the local prep there for the upcoming Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Buttercream Babe is in the field for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, and she'll be competing against the best 2-year-old fillies on grass in the world coming up in a couple weeks' time. So Saltwater Taffy comes out of a very live race, I think, and this is a twirling candy filly trained by Mark Casse. Casse's had as much success with 2-year-olds on the turf here at Keeneland in the fall as any trainer over the last decade plus. This is really a spot where his horses do well. 6-1 in the morning line. Post 5, not a bad draw at all for this mile and a 16th. There appears to be very little early speed to the inside. Saltwater Taffy's not a horse who goes to the front, but if the other horses to the inside just kind of fall to the back, she can kind of default in and get in closer and closer to the inside and save ground. So it could be a very good trip. I love Saltwater Taffy in race number 3. And hopefully that we can get this one home as our first key play of the day. Other horses that we're putting in consideration in race number 3 for the underneaths, the 11 Moonlight Gambler and the 8 Celtic Charm. Brendan Walsh trains the 8 Celtic Charm. He had another win today, a Justify filly. The Justifies are running on turf. They're running on dirt. They could do just about anything. Celtic Charm ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. Have to respect those connections. The deep closer, Moonlight Gambler, comes out of the Jessamine Stakes. Rallied from 11th, last of 11, to be 5th, beaten 4 lengths in that race in which Buku rallied from off the pace and just absolutely mowed him down. The one concern I have with Midnight Gambler is this horse could get overbet now coming back on the shorter rest in a pretty classy kind of level, right? A mile and a 16th turf maiden special in here. That's a tough one to come back out of on short rest. And the fact that Moonlight Gambler did get the pace set up last time and still only split the field, finishing 5th. In fact, lost ground to the leaders over the last half of the race, was 4 lengths back at the mid, with a half mile to go, and ended up beating 4 1/4 lengths. So I'm not so sure that's not kind of a little bit of a false flag, the 11 Moonlight Gambler's last race. I respect the form prior to that, though. The good second place finish to Pharaoh's Wine at Kentucky Downs. So the 11 absolutely fits, but I think the 11 is going to be an underlay and bet a little harder in here than deserving. Chad Brown's got the 7, best of all, coming back on 6 days rest if they stay in the field here. This is a candy ride out of Best Performance, bred for the turf. The debut was not really meant to be, going 6.5 on the dirt. So this is a better spot for the 7, best of all, one that you could certainly consider here in the 3rd. But Saltwater Taffy, for me, I'm all in on this one, and not a lot of love. A couple 2nd place, 3rd place picks for Saltwater Taffy. So give me that one as a potential single, and at 6-1 in the morning line, a straight win bet. If you're looking to the tries and supers, you're going to get a big field of 12 in here with the also eligibles. In the event this race does come off the turf, do we still like Saltwater Taffy? I think the form was, not good enough at Ellis Park in the debut. Despite trouble, there was trouble to get as excited about Saltwater Taffy. I think this twirling candy filly would be better on the turf, but there is a bullet workout at Keeneland October 19th on the main track. So if Mark Casse decides to stay in this race with Saltwater Taffy, I'd still make that horse the top play in here. But let's just talk about units of wagering, right? I mean, if we're talking about, if this is normally a big bet for you is normally $20, then this is a $20 win bet on the turf. On the dirt, it's $10 or $15. I would peel back some of my confidence and strength of the wager. There's really nothing on the also eligible list that makes you say, wow, if this race goes to the main track, I have to go after him. So Saltwater Taffy with that bullet workout in the current form might be good enough on the main track to just beat these either way, no matter which surface we stay on in the 3rd race. Let's move things to the 4th race on this Friday card as we roll through the Valley View Stakes Day program here at Keeneland, where race number 4's got Buck Moon on top for me, also the top pick for Scott and Caton. So I'm in with our simulcast co-hosts in this one. We're all on Buck Moon amongst this group. Trident Hit, also a top pick for Tom, and uninvited guest, the top pick in here for Kim. So 2 3, 7, 4. Those seem to be the main players in race number 4. Let's go through this race. It's a $62,500 claimer. So upper level claimer. This is in here. Have had some experience and some success in the allowance ranks. So don't be surprised here, if these kind of horses are not necessarily making a class drop as you try to handicap these races. Buck Moon comes out of races at Thistledown and Hawthorne, has traveled around the Fawner, won the Bosselman Gus Fawner Stakes back in April, stakes winner of the big race in Nebraska. This horse has got good form and speed to the inside. Didn't break last time at Thistle when bumped at the start. If Gerardo Corrales gets this one out of the gate, I think you're seeing Buck Moon go to the front for trainer Larry Ravelli. Trident Hint has showed a little bit of speed, going a bit longer than this mile on a 16th trip. I don't think that horse is nearly as fast as Buck Moon. So I think Buck Moon can take advantage of being on the inside. There's not a ton of early speed in this race. Uninvited Guest might be kind of pressing the pace and just off of it. Not necessarily a speed horse, though. So give me Buck Moon with a chance to go wire to wire for a speed trainer and Larry Ravelli. He gets Gerardo Corrales to ride. Again, a speed jock. So a good pairing there. Buck Moon, the top choice for me in here. King's Ovation, the 7, though. A lot of respect for this one on the Keeneland form. Beat Lesser here, though, in April. So this is a step up in class compared to that April race. But the class has been certainly shown at Ellis Park this summer in some allowance optional claiming, running against Search Engine, Presidential, Roman Centurion. So some pretty good fields there. King's Ovation would certainly fit in here. I've got it 2-7-3 the way I stack these up in here. And those will be the ones that I go for. The 4 Uninvited Guests I've got marked as usable. This is a horse who worries me with the one poor effort, though, in a very similar race back in April here at Keeneland. Did not pick up a hoof, and sometimes horses just don't like Keeneland. Distorted Humor, the sire, you would think would probably be okay here with Uninvited Guest, but that one poor effort here at Keeneland in the spring is what gets me off who is the 2-1 morning line favorite. So I'm going to toss the 4 in here for my top 3. If you wanted to use that horse in a multi-race wager, you could get into that, but I'm going Buck Moon, and I would, maybe look at a double single here because I'm going to get a little cute in race number 5 coming up next. And like we talked about, 3 deep in the opener, 6 deep in the second. If we can single Saltwater Taffy and Buck Moon, now we're only 3 by 6 by 1 by 1. We've only used up 18 combinations getting to the end of the pick 5. Now we're starting to see a ticket that might be playable if we could get back-to-back singles. Saltwater Taffy, Buck Moon in races 3 and 4, the way I'm going to lean. Next up for us is race number 5. It's the first leg of the pick 6. Again, no carryover in the pick 6 going into Friday's card. It was hit today for $15,000 with $1.1 million in new money put into the pick 6. Race number 5 is also our second key play of the day. This is one of the long shots. I told you I've got several kind of big price long shots on this card. This is one that I went ahead and put into my key plays of the day. The name is Betty Davis. I'm eyeing Betty Davis, and with all apologies to Kim Carnes in the song, we will hope that Betty Davis can find the winner's circle. A bullet workout coming into this race, and this horse showed a decent little bit of late interest going 6 furlongs in the career debut at Churchill Downs. Now stretches out from a sprint to a mile and a 16th. I like this with the cheaper level horses. This is a maiden claiming 30 going long. Betty Davis on the stretch out after a difficult start in the career debut, bred to go long, top and bottom on the pedigree, and it's trainer Mike Tomlinson. He has not had a good meet. And we chased one today, and the horse really didn't run that much at all. But over the years, Mike Tomlinson's had success here in the 4th and final week, saving horses to the end of the meet at Keeneland that have popped in at some nice prices. We're going to chase one more time on the Tomlinson train here on Friday because the price is kind of too good to pass up. You get that kind of wake-up look in the workout tab with the bullet workout at Churchill Downs training on October the 21st. Let's see if Betty Davis from Post 4, fairly decent draw here because, again, the 1 and the 2 really don't have any early speed at all to talk about. The 3's got some early speed. So Betty Davis, if is able to break at all, this filly might be in the 2 path going into the clubhouse turn. Whether it's in the front or the back, it's not going to be a situation where you're going to be kind of losing ground into the first turn. So I like the post. I like the workout since the debut and showed a little bit after just kind of blowing the start there. So give me Betty Davis in race number 5. Starting leg of the pick 6 is one of my key plays. We're going to try to get a price in here on this Friday card. Now, if you're playing the pick 4, pick 5, these multi-race wagers that roll through this 5th race, I think you use my top 3 as well as number 9, Been Real Busy. So I'm going to go with the 4, the 2, the 3, and the 9. 4, 3, 2, 9, the way I've got it stacked up here in race number 5. And if you look across the way, the 3, the 2, and the 9 are the other top picks for my handicapper brethren in here. So we talked about being 18 combinations in the pick 5 to get to this leg, final leg, the cash out leg in race 5. So there's 4 horses that we want to use in here. 18 combinations times the 4 that we use here. 18 times 4 is 72 combinations. So for a 50-cent ticket, we're looking at $36. So it's a $36 ticket the way I've got it stacked up, where we're 4 deep here, 3 in the opener, 6 deep in race number 2, and we got to get the 2 singles in the middle. So it's a $36 play. And essentially what you're also doing is saying, I've got to get races 3 and 4 winners on top. If you just want to play a $36 daily double in races 3 and 4, the same things need to happen, right? You need to get Saltwater Taffy and Buck Moon to win back-to-back, and then you cash it no matter what. You don't have to take the other risk that goes into hitting the other legs in the pick 5. But pick 5s are usually very lucrative. If you can knock one down, it's usually worth the risk to go beyond that daily double instead of just playing the $36 double. The 50-cent pick 5 should do you better than the $36 double, but if you don't want to assume that extra risk and you want to play the same amount, go ahead and just go for those 2, Saltwater Taffy, Buck Moon. That's what I'm going to do in races 3 and 4. But Betty Davis is definitely getting some money on me in the win pool. We're going to play some exacta key boxes, 4 with the 2, 3, and 9. That way, if the 4 runs second to either the 2, 3, or 9, we've got the exacta. If the 4 wins and the 2, 3, 9 finishes underneath, we're going to get a win bet on Betty Davis, and we're going to hit the exacta. That's how we're going to layer our bets out. And if we're right, then we're cashing on multiple fronts, not just one. To the 6th race we go next. The late pick 5 starts here. It's also the first leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Again, if you're joining the program late, at the top, we mentioned the weather is of some concern. Overnight rain supposed to start 11, 12, 1 a.m. In Lexington tonight, Thursday night into Friday, 50% chance of rain on Friday. So let's see if we can't get this race to stay on the turf in the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 opener and the Pick 5 opener for the late Pick 5 in race number 6. I've got solid pace written at the top of my page. I think this is one that's got a fairly fast pace about it, and a horse who can just show a little bit of patience and maybe save a little ground could be effective in this particular spot. And I'm going with one of my key plays right back here. Flavian Pratt riding number 5, Haystack, 4-1 in the morning line. Haystack, my top choice in here, the only handicapper with Haystack picked on top. So do you think we'll get 4-1 in the morning line? I think we might hold that price based on the fact that 5 handicappers are looking different directions in here away from Haystack. Mirabella, top pick for Caton and Tom. Last Call, the top pick for Scott. And Kim's got Queen's Garden in here. So 5 handicappers, 4 different horses on top. Do we feel like we can hold a decent price on Haystack and won't be overbet? I think so after looking at the handicapper selectors box. Here's a couple reasons why this is one of my key plays of the day. Haystack last time was too close to a slow pace. 49 and change, 113 and change. That was up into the mix. Pratt rode that day, first time aboard the runner. Now the blinkers come off. So that's a move by trainer Whit Beckman to say we need to relax a little bit. They were out of their comfort zone because the pace was slow last time. This is a much faster pace, right? Remember I said top of my page, I've got solid pace written. I think there's going to be plenty of early speed in this race. So Haystack's not going to be up to the front like last time when they went 49 and change and were walking on the lead. Plus the blinkers coming off should relax the horse back a little bit. Flavian Pratt's got experience now, having ridden the horse once. I like that. A good post position in the middle of the gate here to just kind of see what's happening inside, see what's happening outside. This is not going to be a horse who drops completely out the back and makes a big rally, and it's not going to be a horse up in the front. So mid-pack, saving a little bit of ground, and Pratt has 9 turf wins at the meet. No other jockeys close to that. I think 5 is the next. I think Tyler's got 5 on the grass so far. Flavian Pratt has dominated the grass racing at this particular meet. He's my pick riding Haystack, second time back after riding this horse last time. And I think learning a little bit, he's got the measure of the turf course this meet. And I think he's going to have the measure of Haystack now, having the experience of riding that horse last time and the blinkers coming back off. So let's look at the other handicappers across the box. What are we going to do with Haystack in terms of, pairing them up with someone? Mirabella, as we mentioned, Tom and Caton's top pick is my second choice in here. Good draw for Mirabella, the 3, Todd Pletcher trainee. Doesn't need the lead, doesn't fall way out of it. Should get a very similar trip as we see with the 5 Haystack. Interesting rider note in here. Tyler Gaffleone rides. Yes, Gaffleone won last time. Yes, it's Todd Pletcher. So why is that interesting? because Tyler's not riding the horse for Brendan Walsh. Salabia, the 6 horse in here. Salabia, this is a horse that Gaffleon has ridden to victories in the past, and he rides everything Brendan Walsh puts on the track, it seems like. So the fact that Gaffleon is off the 6 and rides a 3 for Pletcher, that's a good sign for that one. So I'm not going to get too deep into multi-race bets here. This is 5-3 to me. This is a 5-3 straight exacta to me. I think Mirabella's the second best play in here. Haystack's the value. I love everything about this one. Is one of my key plays of the day. I'm making a 5-3 exacta bet. And if you're playing multi-race wagers, I would use the 5 and the 3. Again, this is assuming the race stays on the turf. If we go to the main track, do we want Haystack by Warfront out of a Turtle Bowl mare and never running on the dirt? No, this is a turf-only pick. And again, we like the way that Pratt's riding, but we love the way he's riding on the turf. So this is not a play if this race happens to come off the turf. If race number 5 or race number 6 is off the turf and onto the main track, then, you know, maybe you look to some of the also eligibles in here. There's not a whole lot of dirt form on the also eligible list as well. So you're just going to kind of recalibrate everything in race number 6 if that race happens to come off the turf, and have to kind of reevaluate it and handicap it straight up after seeing who's left in the field. A lot of times you'll have a shorter field if the race is off the turf, and you might be able to identify some horses that can control the early pace, and it becomes a field size and a pace situation that you're looking for in an off-the-turf race. But we're hoping race number 6 stays on the grass. To the 7th we go now, and the late pick 4 is going to open in this one. 7th race is a second-level allowance optional claimer, 1 mile and 1/8. Stakes caliber runners in this particular spot, as we often see in these kind of races at Keeneland. Good-looking group in here, and we say stakes caliber because one of the big ones on the card on Friday is the return of Chop Chop to Keeneland. The Brad Cox trainee just missed by a nose last year in the Alcibiades Stakes. She was my top pick in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Didn't run that day and was on the shelf after that for a while. She's been okay as a 3-year-old with a couple, nibbling finishes in stakes company, but she hasn't been the same filly. Maybe Brad Cox can get her back on the beam here in allowance company. He tried something similar off the March layoff at Churchill, and at 2-1 as the favorite, she was just kind of even in that race. Now, it was a decent race. The runner-up Scratch Cat has come back to win since. I would not be surprised if Chop Chop wins race number 7 on Friday at Keeneland, but I'm not all in for her. I think you can go for some other options because I think she's going to get overbet. I'm going to take a shot with Cotton Candy Annie. This is 20-1 in the morning line. Gerardo Corrales rides for Armando Hernandez. Before this meet started, I can tell you honestly, I did not know Armando Hernandez. A trainer on the Illinois circuit, FanDuel Racing, Hawthorne. Since coming to Keeneland, he's run 3 horses at this meet. He's got 3 winners. One of them was 7-1. The other one was like 14 or 16-1. The third one got bet. Everything he sends, he's like Charlie Whittingham here all of a sudden. So fool me 3 times, shame on me. Fool me 4 times, I'm not going to let it happen. I'm taking Armando Hernandez on top in race number 7 until he loses a race. As simple as that. Gerardo Corrales rides here. And this one, on paper, you say, well, Hawthorne, FanDuel Racing, it's going to run into some class issues in this second level allowance. We'll go back in the past performances for this runner. This was a Fairgrounds winner runner who was running in the Untappable Stakes, the Silver Bullet Day, was an allowance winner at Churchill last November around the Thanksgiving meet. So there's some back class for Cotton Candy Annie. So maybe just getting back here to the classy circuit, and whatever Hernandez is doing, he's doing it right. And if he keeps doing right, he might be in the winner's circle for the 4th time with 4 starters coming up. So I'm going Cotton Candy Annie in race number 7. Not a key play of the day for me because there's not a high level of trust that the guy's going to rattle off 4 straight wins, but I'm not going to get beat by him in this spot. The 9 Chop Chop, like I said, looks fine in here. She could win, but I don't think she lays over the field. The 6, She's Looking Lucky, is the actual 7-5 morning line favorite in here. Only one of us taking She's Looking Lucky on top, that being Caton. Matt Shire trains. This one ran second in the Seneca Overnight. The winner of that race is going to run up in New York in a graded stakes race on Saturday. She's Looking Lucky, instead of going to the graded company to the Mother Goose, is going to stay here in allowance company in Kentucky. So a much easier spot for coming out of a race when well beaten last time by a filly who may be favored in the Mother Goose. a good field in that Seneca overnight. Tax was third in there. Of course, she won the Black Eyed Susan on Preakness weekend earlier this year. So she's looking lucky. Obviously fits in here. I would go 3 deep in the multi-race wagers. The 1, the long shot, wise guy play. The 9, who's a logical contender here at Keeneland, but probably a little bit of an underlay price in the win pool. And the 6, who just looks right on paper. There's no problem with that. And if you look across the way, the 1, the 6, and the 9 are the 3 horses in this race who are getting the look to score the victory from our public handicapper. So 3 deep for me. I will play Cotton Candy Annie if that price stays anywhere near 20-1, but I'm not the only person who now knows Armando Hernandez is 3 for 3 at the meet. You guys know from listening now. Other handicappers are obviously to that. The statistics in the past performances now show the 3 for 3. He's not going to sneak up on anybody anymore. So 20-1 in the morning line when Nick Tamaro made this line. The guy wasn't 3 for 3 at the time. We're not going to get 20-1. Now, what is fair odds on this particular horse? I still say you got to get at least 8-10-1 if you're going to try to beat She's Looking Lucky, a stakes runner, and Chop Chop, last year's nose defeat in the Alcibiades back over a track we know she likes. So if you're going to beat Brad Cox in that particular situation and you're going to beat the favorite She's Looking Lucky, you better get 8 or 10-1 to do so. So Cotton Candy Annie, the play. But in full disclosure, do not think we're getting 20-1. I don't think it's a bad morning line in this particular case. I just think it's timing, right? I'm doing the same thing that a lot of people are going to do, which is say, hey, you're 3 for 3. Until you get beat, I'm going to go ahead and take your runner. So let's see what happens in race number 7. 8th on the card. Next up, this is our first of 2 stakes races back-to-back. It's the Valley View Stakes. Grade 3 company in here, $300,000. 3-year-old fillies going the mile trip. The Valley View is a good stakes race, right? I mean, it's graded company for 3-year-old fillies. It's big towards their broodmare careers moving forward. These fillies, as they become graded stakes winners or graded stakes place, their broodmare value goes up. So it's a big deal for them. It's not the big deal for 3-year-old fillies, though, here at Keeneland in the fall. That's the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, the grade 1, that was run $600,000, run earlier to meet a couple weeks ago. So this is kind of like the consolation prize to the QE2 late in the meet. Sometimes we'll see horses out of the QE2 drop in class and come back here on short rest. As far as this field this year, we don't have any of those particular types. But we've got some horses who ran in the kind of the lead-in races around the country that might send you to the QE2, and they didn't run their best in those, and the connections didn't take the grade 1 leap forward, so they're kind of taking the backup plan. Can we win the Valley View, half the purse money, but get some graded black type as a grade 3? I think that's part of the reason why when I look at the stats for the Valley View Stakes, this is one of the biggest upset race profiles you're going to see at Keeneland, period. The last 17 times this race has been run on turf, it's not 17 years because there was a year where they had 2 divisions, that sort of thing. But the last 17 times this race has been on turf, the average winner's been 11-1 odds, and favorites have won 1 out of 17. I think this is one of those spots where horsemen are trying to fit square pegs into round holes. It's a last chance to run against just 3-year-old fillies. And, you know, the public looks at the resumes and says, well, these horses were running against better and they're trying to find class droppers. This is a race that just creates some chaos. So in today's Valley View Stakes and Friday's Valley View Stakes, I'm telling you, do not be afraid to go look for a price. I'm going to shop around for a price in here, and I'm going to one called Spearling Beog. Spearling Beog is the 7, 12-1 in the morning line, coming off the Jockey Club Oaks Invitational last time for trainer Graham Motion. If we can get anywhere near that price, we can get somewhere in that 10-1 range in a race that averages 11-1. I'll be very happy with Spearling Beog. Graham Motion won this race in 2016, and 2018, and 2022. His fillies who are coming here aren't necessarily the backup plan. He's got the right ones here in the right spots, I think. And I think Spearling Beog could have been a horse that would have ran back in the QE2, but I think when they looked at that field this year for the QE2 with all those brilliant Europeans who were coming in, just, you know, Guineas winners. I mean, top class, Maj, who won the race, Lindy, the runner-up. There was just, you know, French 1,000 guineas, English 1,000 guineas types horses. I think Motion looked at that field and said, Spearling Beog's good, but she's not that. Let's wait. And I think this is a good spot for her. With Ruiz riding out of Maryland, I think it could help our price a little bit, that we're not getting an A-list rider. The listed rider in here is going to help our price a little bit. So Spearling Beog, my pick in a race that is begging for long shot winners throughout the course of the last 17 editions. Let's go across the handicapper selectors box in race number 8, see where the other handicappers are at. Pride of the Nile, the 2, is the top choice in here for Scott and Kane, so the simulcast hosts are in agreement. The 8, Bling, the top pick for Kim and Tom. So a pair of 2s and a pair of 8s as we go across this event. I have Pride of the Nile and Bling not in my top 3, but I'm not going to argue with anybody taking Bling for Vicky Oliver. She's won 3 races at the meet. I think maybe all 3 have been on turf. At least 2 of them have been on turf off the top of my head. Bling is one who comes back second time at the meet, ran October 6th, going 5.5. Now makes the stretch out to a mile and a 16, but has run well here in the past. Second in the Jessamine last year by disqualification. So we know Bling can handle 2 turns in Keeneland. No argument there if you like Bling at 15-1 in the morning line. This goes to show this race is deep and has some good options for you as a horse player. The 2, Pride of the Nile, is Flavian Pratt riding. This is a horse who ran in the Ashland in the spring. Didn't show anything there, but back to the turf. The turf is the preferred surface for this one. 3 career wins on the grass, nothing on the dirt. So Doug O'Neill, West Coast trainer, gets Pride of the Nile back on the preferred surface. Flavian Pratt rides. We talked about him already having 9 turf wins at the meet. It would be no shock to see Pride of the Nile have some success in here. That one also 8-1. So, where are the morning line short prices in here? A Sacred Wish, the 3 for George Weaver, coming off a win in the Winter Memory Stakes in New York. And also the 9 Surge Capacity for Chad Brown, coming off a second-place finish in the Lake Placid Stakes. So those 2 New Yorkers are the shorter prices in the morning line. Let's see what the public does with this race. But I would say feel free to just step away from a shorter price and look for something at some good odds in the 8th race on Friday. That is the Valley View. Next up is the 9th race, the co-featured races, the Myrtlewood Stakes. The Myrtlewood, race number 9, 6 furlong sprint for 2-year-old fillies. This race was inaugurated 2 years ago. This will be the 3rd running of the Myrtlewood. Last year, Brad Cox had the heavy favorite, Key of Life, coming off a win at the meet. She was bet down to odds-on favoritism and just rocked them. He's got You Almost Had Me in here. Brad Cox looking to win this race for the 2nd year in a row. You Almost Had Me just has an impeccable resume compared to the others in here. Winner of the Kentucky Juvenile at Churchill Downs in May. That came after winning her debut race here at Keeneland in the spring meet. 2nd fastest time in the meet in the baby dashes when she was trained by John Hancock. Subsequently was bought, sold, moved to Brad Cox. Won a stakes race against the boys, then came back and ran 3rd in the debutante, and last time out in the Pocahontas at Churchill ran 2nd behind VV's Dream. VV's Dream, of course, one of the top 2-year-old fillies in Kentucky throughout the course of this year. Nothing wrong with that form at all. You Almost Had Me, my top pick in the Myrtlewood Stakes to give Brad Cox back-to-back wins in this race 2 years in a row. Now, last year when he won this race, like I said earlier, it was a horse who came out of this meet with a race at the meet and came back and won on short rest, that being Key of Life. We've got another one coming back on a couple weeks rest, Extreme Smoke Show. Don't be surprised if the 6 shows a little bit in here. Extreme Smoke Show for trainer Mac Robertson had won the debut at Canterbury and was let go at 12-1 when rallying big time to win here opening day. Now, closers did do well on opening day, so Extreme Smoke Show might have been flattered by kind of the way the race is set up and played out that day. Tyler Gaffalione rode. Gaffalione's off because he's riding You Almost Had Me. But again, this 6 Extreme Smoke Show, one that's not showing up in the picks here for the other handicappers, does have a similar profile to what we saw with Key of Life last year, winning at the meet and then trying to come back and win the Myrtlewood on closing weekend. Others in here, Hot Beach, you've got to consider. 3rd place finisher in the Pocahontas. Finished just less than a length behind last time with You Almost Had Me and beat that rival in the debutante stakes. So Hot Beach and You Almost Had Me are splitting hairs between the two. They're 1-1 in their head-to-head matchups. Flavian Pratt pairs with the 3 Hot Beach. Gaffalione rides the 7. So a couple of the big riders at the meet, obviously well mounted here. In race number 9. Fibber, top pick in here for Caton at 8-1 in the morning line for trainer Brett Calhoun. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, today at Keeneland, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and get Caton's pick and reasoning for why she's on the island with Fibber. A nice price here, 8-1 in the morning line, and she's the only one that's got that one picked. Be interesting to hear her reasoning why she likes Fibber in the Myrtlewood Stakes. Let's go to the final race on this 10-race card. It's the Turf Pick 3 finale. It's going to wrap up all the multi-race wagers as well, of course. Mile and a 16th maiden special weight here for the 2-year-olds. This is a split division of what we saw earlier in the card. I believe race number 3 was the other race that was the mile and a 16th on the turf for 2-year-old fillies. So split division simply means this. They had so many entries for it, they split the race in two. 16 horses went in race number 3. 16 more entered in race number 10. So when they put this race in the condition book, at least 32 names were dropped in for 2-year-old fillies who wanted to run a mile and a 16th maiden special on this day at Keeneland. They split the race in two. From a gambling standpoint, we like that. From a horseman standpoint, they like it because they get a chance to get their horses in and run. But as you know, if they're splitting a race, that tells you there's a lot of interest in it. And we're going to get good field sizes. And that's what we have here in the 3rd and the 10th. Again, let's hope this race stays on the grass. Another profile race, when we talk 2-year-olds going long on the turf, like we talked about with the stakes race, this is a good profile for some long shot winners. So in races 3 and 10, don't be afraid of prices. This is why I think it's a long shot card. You know, I had a 20-1 I liked, another 20-1 that we're giving some consideration to. A couple of races where the profiles for these races have set up for big prices over the years, like the Valley View Stakes. These 2-year-old turf route races, 73 of them in fall meets. The average winner is 9.5 to 1. So, you know, what's that? $21 mutual for an average winner in these races. And favorite to 22 for 73, well under a third, completely underperforming. One thing I noticed with the long shot winners, I looked in the database and took all the horses 10 to 1 or up that have won this race. There have been 22 of those. What's the profile? How do you get an upset, right? It's one thing to say it's an upset race historically, but who's winning, right? I mean, we still got to find the right long shots. Of the 22 winners at 10 to 1 or more in these races over the years, 16 of them had the same thing in common in that they were adding distance or were first-time starters. They were unproven around 2 turns at a mile and a 16th. So the stretch-out horses in these 2-year-old maiden special weight races on turf have won at prices. 16 of the 22 had not gone 2 turns. The public is overvaluing the 2-turn experience in these races based on the results. And so if you're going to find a price in races 3 or races 3 or 10 on this Friday card at Keeneland, my recommendation is to try to find a horse who went shorter last time, a 1-turn race, and is now stretching out. First-time starters have also had a little bit of success in these as well. If you can find a rookie that you like. I'm not totally enamored with the first-time starters, but Laura Stin in here for Brendan Walsh is a first-time starter that maybe you want to consider. Again, that unproven form that has scared people away has been what has made these horses value. Dazzling Dictator, the 4, is a value play for me because this horse comes out of a sprint, 7 furlongs, 1 career race, now stretches out for the first time for trainer Ian Wilkes. Wilkes has already won 2 2-year-old turf races this meet. His 2-year-olds on grass have been well placed. This one is by American Pharoah, and American Pharoah's best horses so far as a sire have been turf fillies. So Dazzling Dictator has the pedigree to go long on the turf here. The profile of the race is 1-turn horses stretching out that the public doesn't respect. And Ian Wilkes already has 2 turf winners at the meet with the 2-year-olds. So maybe he can add a third. Dazzling Dictator, my top pick in here. And don't sleep on another big bomb in here. A horse named Gold Delmar. Adds blinkers for the first time. Has already run once this meet. Ran 6 furlongs at Keeneland last time. Now stretches out. This is another one where people are going to say, well, where's the proof of good route form on the turf? This horse ran decent on the grass back at Kentucky Downs, going 7/8 of a mile. So there's a little back form on the turf, stretching out now, might be a little quicker and a little more brilliant after getting that sprint race. And lower level connections go to the blinkers. So they're going for it. Second start at the meet, adding blinkers. They'll probably be in the race early. Let's see what Gold Delmar, the 7, can do at a price. Again, in a race where prices have had some success. So I'm 4, 7, and 9 in here. 4 and 7 are 2 of the stretch out long shots that I'm hoping to click with. The 9 is the first time starter in here that I think looks best amongst the rookies. Thorny goes for the 10, goes for Kenny McPeak, who's picked things up here over the last couple of days. McPeak with another nice maiden winner on the card today. So if the 10 is live on the tote, certainly the McPeak horses have been live on the tote of late. If that one gets bet, the 10 Thorny, you're going to want to pay attention to that. As far as the other handicappers across the way, Floribunda, the 3, the overwhelming pick, 3 of the 4. That is Todd Pletcher with a Kentucky Downs miler. See, this is the kind of horse that, you know, if we're looking at these favorites that underperform and overemphasis of the route experience, Kentucky Downs, Turf Mile, Pletcher, you think, okay, this is the kind of race this horse should be in and should be the one to beat. But they're not winning these kind of races, right? We talked about favorites barely 30% in these particular spots, and the average winner almost 10-1. So you're as likely to get a bomb as you are to get a favorite in this spot. So I'm not going to recommend taking the shorter price. If Floribunda wins, you tip your cap and you move on to the Saturday card. That's the way I look at it. We'll move on to the Saturday card tomorrow night when we're back on Friday with the Keeneland Look Ahead preview for the closing day program. It'll be day 17 of 17 when we preview tomorrow night. But before then, we've got a good Friday card featuring 2 stakes races, and I wish you all the best of luck. I'll be back on Friday night at 8:30 to take a look at the Fayette Day Stakes on closing day. Good luck, everybody.